Hello and welcome to today's video. My name's ArbieG and today we are taking part in Daily Race B for this week's daily races after our terrible time at the FIA Nations Cup the other day, where we just got sort of smashed around every single time we tried to race, getting knocked off on the second and third corner on the first lap. Great fun. But we're just looking at the qualifying now, so qualifying for a Daily Race B. Thought I'd just sort of use maybe this race to kind of maybe pick up the DR a little bit, because I was at the very bottom end of B. I was sort of on around just over 10,000 DR points, and quite honestly I just needed like my motivation up a little bit after that, after that Wednesday of just, like I said, it's normally I'm not that much to complain and stuff, and normally like I can take maybe, you know, one race being ruined by a rammer, or, you know, you just sort of take the fit with a fin. But when it's like someone ramming into you repeatedly every race, it's just soul destroying. But anyway, let's focus on what we're doing here. So we're coming around now to the hairpin here. Lovely little hairpin. You just sort of do your braking just past the a second arrow, and we come down here and you just sort of a little bit past the yellow bollard, just before the 500 meters. You do a little bit of light braking, get on the accelerator nice and early, and you got this nice sweep in here. Some people brake here, so I just come off the accelerator and wait until I've got enough speed now to shift up to fourth. Here, I feel like this is probably the area of the lap I probably could have got a bit more time, but a little bit of light braking, reduce your car down, get down to 2, and as soon as you can get straighten up, accelerate out, come down here, hit that apex nicely, and accelerate out in third, slip up to fourth, trail brake through here till you get down to a speed, slip to third, use a bit of engine braking, and then accelerate as soon as you come past that track that's on the right hand side. And that was the brake line, that was the driving line for me and the brake markers I used, and that got me a 144 flat, a 154 flat, and I really struggled to get sort of past that, break into the 153 bar as much as I tried. But before we sort of go into racing, I'm going to show you guys something. The reason why I had to do quite a bit of racing is because literally first race I had a bit of a terrible time with an SR wreck and the DR wreck, so we had some recovering, a fair amount of recovering to do. So before we really get into the races that I wanted to show you today, I perhaps just want to show you guys a really quick clip of something that happened. So here we are in the race in the second lap in second place. Looking like this guy Jonesy's trying to get the overtake on the outside. Risky position to do it, but he gets that really nicely. No complaints from me there. He just gets in front of me and just gets to the apex before me, even though I was in the better place being on the inside to defend. And you've got this chap here in fourth, guy from the Netherlands with a penalty. He gives me a little knock there. It might not seem like much, but it was enough just to push me off the track. And as I come back on, I give him a shunt, and that knocks us back out. He gets himself a nice 3-second penalty on top of his 1 second. But you can see that's dropped me all the way down to 10th. You know, these things happen. Not the end of the world. Get shunted there. Bit of a rubbing side by side. He gets himself a penalty. I had really nowhere else to go. Should have afforded a little bit more room. And now we've dropped down to 9th. And we've got people fighting behind us. But we're holding our position relatively well here. But we come off track there. Really bad from us. And we've just had to slide back on. And just got to get our control back. And then we'll be away again. As someone's coming up our rear and hits us there. Right on the back. And he actually comes around and purposely shunts us there. And then it's all chaos now. I've got myself a 2-second penalty. I don't know why his didn't grow, and I'm completely off the track and in last place. And that was enough to drop my SR down to A and my DR down to C. So we've got some work to do before the next FIA. So here we've got our first race, well, not first race on the track, as you saw. That first race didn't go so well, but our first race that we're going to talk through properly. But yeah, a bit of carnage there. Maybe a few things I could have avoided myself, like when that guy come into the back of me, I was kind of on the racing line trying to get back on track, and yeah, he could have gone off me, but it was really up to me to come off the racing line. So maybe a little bit my fault, but in anger to come back and smash me on the side there, it's just one of those things. So we've got to work the SR and DR up. We're starting from pole position here, a rarity for me, so it's quite nice to be in pole. So we are away now, and let's see if we can get through turn 1, which is kind of critical for being in pole if you can survive turn 1, then you've got a really good chance to be able to take the race, because although people have got slipstream behind you, the impetus is on you really just to set the pace. So we got cleanly there through turn 1, got our braking zone nice. I did quite a lot of practice because with it being a grid start, meaning your brake zone is going to be really off from your normal brake zone into that turn, because you're kind of like half the speed you normally are. So I did a lot of practice trying to work out what my braking zone was there, and it looks like I've managed to hit that perfect, because you really need to get that perfect, and also you just need a bit of hope that someone else isn't going to a late brake and just smash into the rear of you as well. But it looks like we're starting to develop a gap now, just over a second gap. You can see we've got the time delta on there, which I've placed on top of the replay for us to see. So we've got a nice gap here, which is enough just for us to not have to worry about slipstream behind us. But I'm going to skip forward now. Not much to show in terms of what's happened so far, and we're just actually right at the end of lap 4. This is one of these things with these sorts of races, because obviously, like, I want to bring you these kind of, these times where I do actually win, but quite often, more often not when it is a win, it's pole position, staying in first and finishing in first, and you can only get so much excitement out of that. But you can see the gap between us and seconds not really changed a huge amount. 1.6 seconds, and didn't really grow and didn't really shrink a lot. A few temps here and there, but really just held this first position nicely, and this is a good step to getting us on the road to repair. A clean race, I'd assume, because no one near us through the entire race, and hopefully a positive impact on both the SR and DR. So that's what we're after. But yeah, we had a real big hit on the SR. I think the SR ended up being like 68, and DR went down to like 8,000, because as soon as you drop out of a league, you get like a penalty for even dropping out of the league. So each race you lose about 5. You could lose about 500 in a race, but if that brings you down below the threshold of 10,000, you lose an extra 1,000 or so, 1,000 or 1,500. So this is our next race. Not as good in qualifying. We're in 3rd, and a few more better people on the track there. We can see the DR and the SR ratings starting to creep up now as we try and work our way back up into B. We just need to get back into B class for the FIA race. So you can see there, we're still a C class, A class, so we're still pushing up, but we're racing against a lot of B class, so we must be at the high end of C class now as we start in 3rd. So no real great ambitions to try and win every race we're in, but just see if we can finish in the top 6, so we have a positive impact on the DR, and see if we can just keep it clean, because we need to make sure we're in the S rank for the safety rating at least when we come into the next FIA. As we're looking on the inside there, but it looks like we got squeezed out there by 2nd place, and we got absolutely smashed there by someone from behind, just come flying through that corner. Jonesy there, he got no sort of penalty or anything for that. It doesn't look like anyone really got any kind of penalty out of that situation there. As we sit behind them, almost made contact there ourselves, completely accidental that one, maybe a bit aggressive through that corner, but we managed to avoid it, and we've come out there cleanly. Like I said, cleanness is probably the most important thing here, as it looks like we're getting attacked on the inside, and we make a little bit side-by-side contact there, but that's just a bit of rubbing there, nothing to worry about at all. And we're sitting just behind 3rd position in what is so far quite a nice race. We've dropped a place from where we started. Did we? I can't remember if we qualified 3rd or 4th now, but we dropped a place from where we started, but this is still a positive if we manage to hold this 4th positive result, as actually Jonesy goes wide there, so we managed to look like get in front of him and claim up and move back to where we started in 3rd position, which is good for us, because it was Jonesy who come flying into us. I mean, it could well be he got a hit behind himself, and that's what catapulted into me. That can happen. It can't necessarily always assume it's just going to be the person that hit us, but he's the one I saw come flying in, and yeah, making a lot of contact. But fortunate enough, it wasn't enough to ruin the race, and we are now looking in quite a nice position here, coming around to the last corner of the 1st lap in 3rd place. And now the race has managed to settle a bit, and everyone's managed to settle into their positions. It's a case of either attacking the person in front of you or defending from the guy behind, as opposed to what can be a bit of a minefield when people are in clusters and groups and stuff. But we've got to be aware of, that there is a little group picking up there as people try and overtake each other. But it's not a bad thing. People are attacking and defending behind. It gives us actually opportunity to pull away a bit. As actually we come off the track there, lose a bit of traction, managed to pull that back relatively quickly and salvage this race, but has dropped back a little bit, and now we're in 5th place. Big mistake there is actually someone comes and takes us on the inside. Now we've dropped down to 6th and 7th. Looks like they could be in a good place to take us as well. So a really bad drop there from 3rd down to 6th in the 2nd lap. Just completely lost traction on that turn, as you can sort of smashing the wall. Quite fortunate not to get a penalty, because sometimes you do get a penalty for like hitting into barriers really hard. Didn't seem to get one. I don't think you need a penalty if you smash into a barrier really hard. If you smash into a barrier really hard, you're obviously going to have some sort of impediment to be able to move forward, and people are going to get past you anyway, as you can see. So please not to pick up a penalty, as looks like the Italian in front of us has got himself a penalty. So this will be an opportunity just to at least climb up one position and climb back up into 5th, and perhaps try and salvage a few spaces, as we're still in, you know, in terms of the SRDR, still in a good place if we manage to sit and finish in 5th. You know, although it's further back from where we started in terms of qualification, you know, all we care about is actually the DRSR grind of trying to pull up the DR into a more healthy place. As we're sitting here behind 4th position, the Italian here, it's actually causing us some troubles, because obviously he seems a little bit off the pace, which means he's holding us up and giving the traffic behind us a chance to really start closing up on us. So we need to make a move and try and get past him, or else we're going to be vulnerable to attacks from behind us. It looks like this is our opportunity, as we almost make contact there, but we're just trying to sit in slipstream, and it looks like we've got this just about right. Sitting in that slipstream now, and you can see how close we are there. We need to move out onto the inside soon. Yeah, it looks like we're going to take the inside line as he takes the outside. Don't know why he didn't take the inside himself. Would have been more better suited to take that, as he looks like he's outbroken himself there, and come off sliding and giving us an easy chance to take that position. So we moved up to 4th place now. Definitely a good salvage, considering the slide out we had. That could have been so much worse. And if we can now perhaps see out this race in 4th, then perhaps you know, we can say this is still a positive. You know, anything, quite honestly, in these races with 16 people, you know, starting anything higher than 8th, then you're definitely having a positive impact on your DR. I mean, it obviously depends who you're racing against, and you know, whether people are highly rated or if they're lower light rate, then it really sort of swings at a pendulum a bit. But in general, you find if you finish in the top half, you're going to be positive on your DR. So we're looking like we've still got a nice little gap, but we're going to skip forward now to the last lap, because not much has changed since then. We've still got sort of equal gaps between what we had. Got a nice comfortable gap on the Belgian behind us, but any big mistakes and he's going to be able to take us. And we've got, again, the Brit in front of us, Jonesy's got a nice comfortable gap on us, but again, any big mistake and we'll be able to climb. But we're coming around now to the last corner, and it looks very unlikely that anything's going to change from this, and it looks like we've managed to nab ourselves a 4th place, which, you know, it's a shame to slip down a position, but at the same time, you know, considering the slip out we had, that could have ended so much worse. So that's another race, another tick on for the positive for DR and SR, which is ultimately all we're trying to get to here, and just get ourselves back into S rank for the SR, and ideally B rank for the DR, which, you know what, if we just breach over that 10,000 limit, getting promoted works in the same way. You're getting relegated. When you lose 1,000 points, you actually, you know, you gain 1,500 points when you get promoted. So if we get go over, we'll actually push it up to about 11,500 ish. So this is the last race that I'm going to bring you. You see, we've got that S class on the SR now, but we're still in C class and S rank, and this time we've actually got 8th on the grid in terms of qualification. So we're definitely racing against some faster races now. Whereas sort of when I started these, I was, you know, mingling at the top part of the race. Now we are 8th, meaning that in terms of getting positive DR, you know, you can see there with primary racing against B class races, got a couple D classes at the end, about 4 D classes at the end. So we really kind of probably looking like anything higher than 10th is going to be positive on our DR. But ideally you want something higher than 8th, because we're at the point now where we're at the very, very, very high end of C class, and probably a positive result is enough to send us through, which is ultimately all we're trying to get to. So it looks like there was a lot of carnage there at the start as someone didn't get away and it caused an incident, which has afforded us a little bit of a gap going through turn 1, which is always really helpful. And perhaps we can create 2 little packs here as people get away and use the slipstream. There's a lot going on here, so we're just probably not going to try and make any moves here, but just sit on the inside. Take the steps. There's a lot of carnage going there, a few hits going on, so hopefully we should have some penalties served, and you know, we've managed to climb a position from, unfortunately, that guy being hit off. Unfortunate for him, but positive for us, as we now just try and hold position. The chap behind us got himself a 1 second penalty, so whether or not he tries to attack is completely up to him, but even if he does, we'll claim a position, as we look like we're neck and neck now with a fellow Brit, Fat Charlie. Looks like we're just sitting behind here. Might take the attack on the next turn, but sitting in that slipstream, going to take the outside line. Not the best place for overtaking, but at the same time, just no need to go too aggressive here. Again, we've got to be conscious of the SR as well. We're not going to go in too hard, as this guy got himself a 1 second penalty, so we can not worry about him and now just split up the field a little bit and give us a bit of breathing room, and maybe give us another chance a bit further into the race to have another go at a Fat Charlie, the fellow Brit, in the yellow. I haven't actually mentioned, obviously, this race is all in the Group 3 Ferrari, a front rear car, I believe. So I do prefer, I think, racing in the one make races where everyone's sort of in the same car, just sort of, you know, on the balance of everything. You know, it all just comes down to who can race the best. So we'll skip forward now. We're now in 7th position. So not much has changed still, and we're in the 3rd lap here, about halfway through the 3rd lap, so we're going to see the race out from here. So we've got about a lap and a half left of the race. You know, managed to build a bit of a gap between us and the pack at the back, you know, good 3.5 seconds, so not too much to worry about from then. Again, avoiding any major slip-ups or anything like that, or them doing anything amazing, as actually the guy behind me literally just slipped up himself, and we now have that gap now going up to 5 seconds. And Fat Charlie still sat in front of us. He's actually built up a little bit of a gap himself, now sitting around the 2 second range. So unless we sort of really start building up the pace on top of what we're doing at the minute, which we've got a little bit of room to, you know, we've got those seconds behind us for us to really start pushing corners and stuff without worrying too much about people pulling up behind us. So there's a potential here to try and pull up, but it's going to be a bit of an ask over what is now 1 more lap to pull back, you know, over 1.5 seconds. There's a few people train and paint in front of us, so we might have some penalties served, opportunity there again, but nothing coming out of that as we come round now to turn 1, as actually Fat Charlie runs wide. This is our opportunity now. He's actually squeezed his wide, but we're going to have to run off, but we managed to get through there, and that's given us a position up, and now it's just a case of just seeing it out to the end of the race. You know, starting in 8th, finishing in 6th. You know, not the best result we've got tonight, but again, this is actually a good result on the DR because we've racing against, in general, all this field are B-class races, apart from a few people at the tail end. So, you know, getting 6th position is probably going to be more positive for the DR than perhaps some of the earlier results that we got that were a bit higher placed. So it looks like the pole in front of me run a little wide there, but it's not going to be enough for us to really drill down any significant progress and really bring down that gap, which is around about 2 seconds at the moment. But again, we're in range for if a mistake happens that we can pounce it, just like we did with Fat Charlie. As again, he runs wide, not big enough of a mistake for us to really bring that down enough to hope to overtake between now and the end of the lap, because it's sitting at around about 1.5 seconds. We've more got to think about Fat Charlie behind us with his just under 1 second gap, knowing that he probably might have a little bit of pace on us in terms of what's happened over the past few laps, and the fact that he's managed to build one up. So we just got to protect our place more than trying to focus on build one, because the 6th place here is probably where we are in terms of driver points. Is going to see us back into B-class DR and get us ready for the FIA races, the manufacturer coming up. So looks like we managed to hold that position there with Fat Charlie just behind us, but not enough to get past, and that is a 6th place finish to finish off the day, and hopefully, as I said, pushes up into the B-class DR, which spoiler warning, it did, and a clean race there. Great stuff. And yeah, ultimately what we're aiming to do, that could have been so much worse. We could have started hitting those races and just, you know, got knocked away with the park and ended up just back in the D class DR and, you know, C class S range, and that would have been, you know, a lot of a crying shame, considering we've managed to get a few races now in the FIA and B class, so now we can go into the next one. But that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed today's racing. I've enjoyed this track. It's been pretty good fun. Quite a technical track, which, you know, it is quite good fun. But looking forward to now just cracking on and just trying to keep a positive mindset when it comes to playing GT Sport, because I have to admit, the previous video, which I definitely recommend you go back and watch, because it was absolutely frustrating what happened to me on the FIAs, on the Nations FIA, on the last video. But that is it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I've been me, you've been you, and I'll talk to you guys really soon. Alright, cheers, bye.